out the game safe, injury-free. So
this is what we wanted.
Things in Dallas are spinning out of control. The Mavericks situation just keeps getting wilder, and what's been happening behind the scenes is straight up shocking. Everyone's been clowning the team for their awful season, but there's a hidden story that makes all that drama look small. A few days ago, we talked about Dallas maybe trading Anthony Davis and blowing up the roster, but the last 48 hours dropped bombshells that change everything. Word is Nico Harrison tried to pressure Anthony Davis back onto the court even after the medical team warned him that AD's Achilles could snap. And get this, reports say the Lakers were secretly shopping Davis months before the Luka trade. There's a nasty double standard in Dallas that screams negligence. This isn't just a bad trade, this is straight up organizational chaos. Nico Harrison getting fired wasn't a surprise, it was 9 months overdue.
Why shouldn't you be fired?
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, but really the way we looked at it is, you know, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship.
Here's the wild part. Sources told The Athletic that Davis actually wanted to return for last Saturday's game against Washington. After missing 7 games with a calf strain, Dallas went from bad to worse without him, sitting at 3-8 while fans chanted, "Fire Nico!" louder each night. Feeling the heat, Nico started pushing AD to play early, and that's where it all went wrong. Every time someone mentions a calf strain, I can't help but think of Kevin Durant in the 2019 NBA Finals. KD pushed through that same injury just to help his team, and it cost him big. He ended up tearing his Achilles. That moment showed how far some players will go for legacy, and honestly, I respect him for putting everything on the line for that 3rd ring. But what's happening in Dallas? Totally different story. The Mavericks Director of Health and Performance, Johan Bilsborough, went head-to-head with Anthony Davis's own medical team about whether it was safe for AD to return. And according to Tim McMahon's report, the Mavericks medical staff flat-out warned them if Davis hit the court too soon, he could tear his Achilles. Yet somehow, they still wanted him to play.
Johan Bilsborough, the Mavs Director of Health and Performance, has thrown up the caution flag. Said, oh, wait. This is a calf strain. Like, we don't need to say out loud the risk you're taking if you're rushing back from a calf strain. And Patrick Dumont, weighing in on these sort of things for the first time in the meeting, said, hey, I'm siding with Johan. I'm erring on the side of caution. Until I see, and I'm speaking to Dumont here, until Patrick Dumont sees clear, convincing medical data indicating there's no risk of aggravating a calf strain or potential catastrophic injury related to it, he's not giving AD the green light.
A torn Achilles isn't just a few games off, it's a nightmare injury. We're talking about something that could sideline a 32-year-old Anthony Davis for a year or more and possibly change his whole career forever. And yet, Nico Harrison was ready to risk that just to grab a couple of wins and save his job. Unbelievable. Some might say this sounds dramatic, but let's be real, it happens. Remember Kevin Durant? Well, it happened again, and way too recently. 5 months ago, Tyrese Halliburton was having the playoff run of a lifetime before everything came crashing down. In the finals between the Pacers and Thunder, he strained his calf in Game 5. The team did all the tests, checked mobility, made sure everything seemed fine. Tyrese told reporters before Game 6, "I just had to hear that it was okay, I know the risks." He played through it, fought hard, and pushed it to Game 7 with everything on the line. But 7 minutes into that final game, disaster struck. Halliburton went up for a play, came down wrong, and immediately started pounding the floor, crying. He knew it right away. Torn Achilles. Season gone, maybe more. The Pacers later confirmed he'd missed the entire 2025-26 season. After that moment, the entire league took notice. Donovan Mitchell tweeted that calf strains aren't a joke, and Isaiah Thomas warned that the next thing, if not healed right, is always an Achilles tear. There's a real connection, and that's exactly why the Mavericks medical team was terrified. Calf strains can turn into Achilles tears if you don't let them heal right, and that's exactly what the Mavericks medical staff was terrified of. They weren't being soft. They just watched Tyrese Halliburton's career take a brutal hit from the same situation only months earlier. They knew the danger, and yet Nico Harrison still pushed Anthony Davis to play.
Every day that goes by, you get closer to the end of Anthony Davis's contract. He's already in his early to mid-30s. He already has a bunch of injury issues. They have to prioritize Cooper Flagg.
That's when things got wild. Team owner Patrick Dumont had to personally step in. He overruled Harrison and sided with the medical staff, demanding proof that Davis wasn't risking his Achilles before giving any green light. Think about how serious that is. The owner had to stop his own GM from gambling with a player's career. If AD had torn that Achilles at 32 with his injury history, that might have been the end for him as a superstar. Even Pacers GM Kevin Pritchard said after Halliburton's injury, "If I knew he was going to get hurt, I'd sacrifice that game because I care about the kid's future." There are no do-overs with an Achilles tear, but here's where things take a turn that's honestly disgusting. While all this drama was unfolding around AD, reports came out showing how differently Harrison treated Luka Doncic.
Nico Harrison was fired by the Mavericks yesterday, or what your thoughts were on seeing the news of his firing.
Well, look, I mean, just city of Dallas, the fans, players, they always have a special place in my heart. You know, I thought I was gonna stay there forever, but I didn't. So they'll always be a special place for me.
According to Tim McMahon on the Howdy Partners podcast, Anthony Davis's personal medical staff was actually on the Mavericks payroll. The team paid for his doctors, trainers, everyone. At first, that doesn't sound too crazy. AD's 32 and injury prone, but the issue? Luka never got that same privilege. When Luka was in Dallas, the Mavericks refused to cover his personal medical team. Not only that, Harrison started firing the trainers and therapists Luka trusted most. Casey Smith, who'd been director of health and performance for over 20 years, was let go after the 2023 season. Then strength coach Jeremy Holsopple and therapist Casey Spangler, both guys Luka wanted to keep, were fired the next year. Luka even told ESPN, "They got rid of everybody I like." So Luka had to hire his own people out of pocket. His Slovenia strength coach Anje Macek, physiotherapist Javier Barrio Calvo, and Real Madrid nutritionist Lucia Almendros all paid from his own wallet. Meanwhile, the Mavericks didn't spend a single dollar. And here's the kicker. They refused to pay for Luka's staff even though he's a 25-year-old generational superstar who led them to the NBA Finals. But they did pay for Anthony Davis's team.
Anthony Davis can't be ordinary. He has to be spectacular, because if he's spectacular, averaging 28 and 12, if he did something like that, like he was capable of, and he was available, then Dallas would be winning more games and you wouldn't be in this situation.
A 32-year-old who's only played 14 games since being traded. Make that make sense. It gets even uglier. There were constant disagreements between Luka's team and the Mavericks staff about recovery timelines. When Luka strained his calf, team director Johan Bilsborough said he'd be good in 2 to 3 weeks, but Luka's personal doctor said he needed 6. Luka even believed the injury happened because the team rushed him back from a heel bruise earlier in the season. Harrison blamed it all on Luka's conditioning instead of taking accountability. So let's be real. With Luka, Harrison didn't trust the player's medical team and fired everyone close to him. With AD, he paid for the player's personal doctors, but still tried to force him back, ignoring his own staff's warnings.
Sorry for Nico Harrison, good dude, but at the end of the day, you traded Luka Doncic. And if you're trading Luka Doncic, you can't be 3-8 on the season with Anthony Davis already missing 3 games and having minimal impact to the success of the Dallas Mavericks while Kyrie Irving is out injured, while Luka Doncic is averaging 40.
The pattern is crystal clear. Nico Harrison was willing to risk anyone's health just to chase wins and keep his seat safe. But real quick, I just want to say thank you for watching and supporting Ball Stories. It honestly means a lot to us. If you're enjoying the video, please like it, share your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Your support really keeps us going. All right, let's jump right back in. It honestly means a lot to us. Let's rewind for a second, because everything so far has been about the aftermath of the trade. But what went down before February makes this whole situation even crazier. Behind closed doors, the Lakers and Anthony Davis were already clashing way before anyone had a clue. Remember how AD looked frustrated with Darvin Ham during that playoff series against Denver? Well, Brett Siegel from Clutch Points dropped a bombshell. Apparently, the Lakers were secretly testing trade interest for Anthony Davis way back in December 2024. That's 2 months before the Luka deal even happened. The front office was quietly making calls, trying to see what kind of package they could get for AD. But why move a guy who just played 76 games and looked like he was finally healthy again? According to multiple team sources who spoke to Clutch Points, Davis had been a growing concern for a while. He wasn't staying in touch with the team during the offseason, and his conditioning when training camp started was often described as below average. And this wasn't a one-time thing. It had become a pattern that frustrated the organization. Then came another twist. After the Lakers won the first ever NBA Cup in December 2023, AD's camp started pushing back hard. They were upset that Davis was logging huge minutes without any real help in the front court. He wanted another big body down low to ease the physical toll. But the Lakers didn't make that a priority. Instead, the team focused on developing Austin Reeves as their third star alongside LeBron and AD, which totally explains LeBron's tone in that now famous post-elimination interview last year.
No comment. I'll never say that because my guy AD said what he needed, and then he was gone the following week. So
a team insider told Clutch Points that forcing Davis to keep logging heavy minutes with barely any front court help infuriated his camp. The tension heading into the 2024 to 2025 season was boiling. AD felt the Lakers weren't protecting him, while the Lakers thought AD wasn't doing enough to stay in shape. Both sides were sick of each other. Then comes the twist. When Nico Harrison and the Mavericks caught wind that the Lakers were quietly testing the market for Davis ahead of the 2025 offseason, Harrison jumped straight on the phone with Rob Pelinka. Now, those two go way back, from Harrison's Nike days when Pelinka was Kobe Bryant's agent, so there was already trust there. But that trust, it ended up costing Dallas big time. According to reports, Pelinka played Harrison like a fiddle. During trade talks, Pelinka flipped Dallas's own insecurities about Luka Doncic's conditioning against them. The first version of the deal had the Mavericks landing Dalton necked and multiple first-round picks for Luka. But Pelinka convinced Harrison that Luka's weight and stamina made him a risky long-term piece. So Harrison caved. In the end, Dallas gave up Luka and got Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a single first-round pick, nothing close to fair value. It was an absolute disaster of a trade. Just off that alone, Harrison deserved to lose his job. Think about it. The Lakers were already trying to move AD because of his conditioning issues, yet Pelinka turned that exact narrative around to squeeze Dallas into a cheap deal. The Lakers dumped a player they no longer trusted and somehow walked away with a generational talent like Luka at a discount. When you lay it all out, it might be the most one-sided trade in modern NBA history. Even the Pau Gasol deal looks reasonable compared to this one. At least Memphis lucked into Marc Gasol, who became a franchise legend. But this was straight up front office robbery, man. So let's bring it all to the present, because every piece of this drama, from Nico Harrison's bad calls to the medical chaos and the pre-trade mess, leads us right here. Anthony Davis has now missed 7 straight games with this calf strain, and there's still no clear timeline for his return. Owner Patrick Dumont is playing it safe, which is 100% the right move. But every extra game Davis misses just makes this look uglier for everyone involved. We already talked about how AD's trade value has completely crashed, right? One Western Conference exec even told Tim McMahon, "I'm not sure what they can get for Anthony Davis." And that was before anyone knew Harrison had tried to rush him back from injury. Now that the truth's out, other GMs are definitely backing off. I mean, who's trading for a 32-year-old who's missed 30 of his last 51 games, has 3 years and $175 million left on his deal, and whose team nearly risked his Achilles just to get him on the floor? That doesn't exactly scream franchise savior, and things get even messier. There's reportedly tension right now between Davis's personal medical team and the Mavericks doctors. AD's people say he's almost ready, but Dallas's staff wants to move slower, Dumont siding with the team doctors, which he should. But that decision makes AD feel like he's being held back for no reason. You can't blame him for being frustrated. The guy's itching to play, watching his team collapse every night while he's stuck on the bench, and now there are rumors that Dallas might trade him anyway. It's wild to think back to AD's first game with the Mavericks. Remember how electric that night was? He came out fired up, showing Dallas fans what they thought they'd gotten in return for Luka. For a brief moment, it actually looked like they might be building a contender. But then, of course, the injuries started piling up again. And now, the Mavericks can't afford to rush him back, not after seeing what happened to Tyrese Halliburton and not with a 32-year-old who's been battling injuries his whole career. The risk is just too high. But here's the bigger picture. Anthony Davis's injury saga is just the latest example of a broken system that's been running for years. This isn't one bad call, it's a pattern of dysfunction that Nico Harrison built. And when you look at how deep it goes, it's honestly shocking that he lasted this long. It all traces back to Casey Smith, the Mavericks' longtime director of health and performance. The man worked there for 21 years. And after the 2023 season, despite his loyalty and respect around the league, Harrison fired him. That single move set the tone for everything that followed, and now the Mavericks are stuck paying the price for years of mismanagement and chaos. So why did Nico Harrison fire a guy who'd been with the Mavericks for over 20 years? According to insiders, it came down to one thing. Casey Smith was too negative. Translation? He wasn't a yes man. Smith reportedly warned Harrison about player health and conditioning risks, and instead of listening, Harrison showed him the door. That's a huge red flag. When a GM fires his longtime medical director just for being honest about injuries, it says everything about how he runs the organization. It's not about protecting players, it's about protecting egos. Harrison didn't want truth, he wanted compliance. After Smith's exit, Harrison brought in his own crew. Keith Belton became the new director of athletic performance, and according to ESPN, he immediately started clashing with Johan Bilsbrough. The two reportedly got into heated arguments about how to handle Derek Lively's ankle injury. Belton pushed Lively through an intense rehab workout, convinced he'd be ready in a few days, but Bilsbrough wasn't buying it. He demanded a CT scan, and thank goodness he did. The scan revealed a stress fracture in Lively's ankle that kept him out for over 2 months. If they'd followed Belton's plan, Lively could have come back too soon and turned that fracture into a full break. Imagine losing a young rising center because someone wanted to rush a return. That's exactly the kind of reckless decision-making that defined the Harrison era. This is what's been brewing behind the scenes in Dallas, and the results speak for themselves. Only 3 Mavericks played more than 57 games last season. Kyrie Irving's season ended with a torn ACL. Anthony Davis barely suited up before going down with an adductor strain, and now he's managed just 5 games this year. Derek Lively's been hurt too, and the team's sitting at a miserable 3-9. You simply can't win in the NBA when your medical department is in shambles, especially when your roster is built around injury-prone stars. You can't keep players healthy when you're firing the staff they trust and replacing them with yes men who only tell the front office what it wants to hear. And you definitely can't build chemistry or confidence in your locker room when players see that kind of dysfunction unfolding right in front of them. That's exactly why firing Nico Harrison was the right call, not just because of the Luka Doncic trade, though that alone was a fireable offense, but because the entire structure he built around player health and performance was doomed from the start. He got rid of experienced pros who knew what they were doing, brought in people who couldn't work together, and constantly overruled his own medical team just to protect his image. So where does Dallas go from here? Honestly, it's hard to picture this story ending well. The best case scenario is that Anthony Davis finally comes back healthy, stays on the floor, and helps the Mavericks make a push, maybe even sneak into the playoffs. If he can look dominant again, maybe Dallas salvages his trade value and flips him for a decent package this summer. But that's a lot of ifs. The more realistic outcome? A D returns, but the Mavericks keep struggling. The roster's thin, the chemistry's off, and each loss piles more pressure on the front office. By February, Dallas might have no choice but to trade Davis for whatever they can get, just to start rebuilding around Cooper Flagg. Here's the harsh truth Mavericks fans need to face. Even if Anthony Davis miraculously stays healthy and puts up all NBA numbers, the damage is already done. He didn't even want to leave Los Angeles to begin with. He got traded for a superstar who's now leading the league in scoring for his old team, and Dallas nearly risked his entire career trying to rush him back. Why would AD commit long-term to that? Why would he sign an extension with a franchise that treated him like that? If he's not planning to stay, then keeping him only delays the inevitable. At this point, the writing's on the wall. Anthony Davis is probably getting traded. But who's lining up for a 32-year-old star who can't stay healthy and is owed a massive contract deep into his 30s? Dallas is stuck, and the situation just keeps spiraling further out of control. This whole situation is just unreal. From the trade mess to the medical chaos, it's like Dallas can't catch a break. But what's your take on it? Do you think the Mavericks can still salvage this, or is it time to hit the reset button completely? I'd love to hear what you think about how this all played out. So, drop a comment below. I really want to know your opinion. Thanks a ton for watching Ball Stories. If you're into stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wild NBA drama and deep dive breakdowns. And seriously, don't go anywhere. There's a bunch of other videos waiting for you that'll blow your mind just like this one. That's it for now. Appreciate you for tuning in. See you in the next one.